Listen, on several Friday nights, somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock Eastern time, we gather here for Worship and Word. It's the place where we come in, connect, check on each other, read God's word, pray with and for each other. And we are deeply interested. See, I was gonna say super excited.
Mm.
We are deeply interested in hanging out with you tonight. So come on, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from and tell us about your week. Chris, man, how you feeling?
Pull up the emotional wheel. We
Oh
not
man,
even
we just
playing
jumping in.
around. Yeah, we just jump right into it. Like that's what we about to do. Um, yeah. So, and boys in the powerful section, feeling faithful and confident, and also cheerful.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I know you didn't ask how the week was. That's how I was feeling, right?
Yeah, two
So
for one.
yeah,
Two for one.
two for one, two for one. But with that though, let me tell you though, with that, as Cerise was like the week,
Woo.
but before I could feel that way, I had to
You didn't freeze on me, did you?
you know, so you know, some there was some antagonizing that had to happen before. Yeah, so but yeah, what's going on, Cerise, Camilla? Yeah, it's it's been a week when you can't even put it fully into words. How is yours, man?
I think, bro, like sometimes just kind of thinking liturgically, right?
Mm, yeah.
How sometimes we don't adjust our liturgy to, how we go like from Psalms. There's like
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, there are laments,
Mm,
there's and sometimes, man, it's not, this is just personal opinion, you can't always come in with the yo. Sometimes you come in with a whew, like I'm pivoting to the what I'm coming in like, man, it was a rough one. It
yeah.
was it
Yeah.
was a lot. You feel weighed down and hopeful.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, this week, man, feeling really inspired, feeling grateful, feeling content and tired,
Mm,
like overwhelmed, and the overwhelm that comes
mm.
from, and I'm trying to keep myself from diving in,
Yeah.
but the overwhelm that comes from getting what you asked for. So I'm just gonna put that there. I'm done because we've been vibing on the same thing. We didn't even know, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that today. Lana, happy Sabbath, back in the yay. Difficult week, heartbreaking week. I'm
Mm,
scared for our Black youth. It is a crazy world out there,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
man, the messages that we're being bombarded by. Man, I was watching a YouTube video. It was a string of news clips,
Mm,
and the news clips followed this young boy. He was 7 years old, and he stole his grandmother's SUV and took it on a joyride. This several years ago, and
mm,
just watching how the news marked him, like called him a carjacker, called him a thief, called him a
mm.
criminal at 7, and
Wow.
how that story,
Mm,
man, the story just stuck with him. Even though he went on, he did good in middle school, he went to high school, he was starting to turn his life around.
yeah.
The last news clip that they strung together was this young man, now 17, 18 years old, and he had gone to prison for stealing a car. And I just watched as they strung the news clips together, how they
Mm,
just kept painting him as
hmm.
this certain person. Every interview years after
Wow. Yeah.
kept bringing up the fact that when he was 7, he stole his grandmother's car.
Hmm.
Just kept rehashing that story.
Hmm.
So to see him at 17 in prison now for stealing a car, and I wonder how much of that is by the message that was replayed to him.
Right.
Like
Right.
you videos of him went viral on YouTube, They did mashups with songs of him and that message being bombarded. And how many people,
Hmm.
how many young black people in this country, man, that soundtrack for them, it never changes. Man, I feel, I'm just, a bit sobering today, man. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
the duality of it all.
yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
also the challenge for us, we've talked about this some weeks ago,
Hmm.
when we have the opportunity to change our personal soundtrack, but we don't.
We don't.
So we keep replaying the story.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who are in spaces now where it's really tough, where they come from, who their parents are, what side of
Hmm.
town they live on,
Yeah.
what they've gone through in their life. It's really hard to change the song. But for those of us who have the opportunity to change the song and we don't, in many ways, we're projecting the the bad story to the next generation. Let me just stop, man.
Man,
Let me stop, man.
it's true though. It's true. We don't. Well, maybe we do. Maybe the powers that be do. Um,
We haven't had that conversation in a while.
yeah, the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
You tell yourself the same story. We have the power to shape and to create our reality.
Yes.
God has given us that power, y'all. He's given us the power of creation and of course
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
a
No
different
doubt.
level, right? But there are things that we create that start with our belief.
Yo, Pastor Nathaniel Drew, man.
Yeah.
He laid one down last week, and he was just
Mm.
talking about why the believers in Jesus
Mm.
went to the graveside expecting him to be there after the third day.
Hey,
That they came. It said, the women came with the spices.
yep,
Sabbath had come.
yep,
They didn't have time. They came after
yep.
Sabbath was over with their spices, do the whole burial practices. Like
Hmm.
what they
You should have known better.
it's 3 days later.
Yeah.
And how many times we go, we revisit cemeteries. Oh man,
Hmm. Oh, yeah,
that story again.
yeah. And if it's not, or somebody else's story about us,
Yes.
and listen,
Yeah.
I don't care how positive, I don't care
Yeah.
how motivated, how disciplined you are. You have somebody in your ear about you. You become and you are shaped by what we say by beholding, we become changed.
Yeah.
Well, by listening to the same stories over and over, you become one of the characters in the narrative.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Even if you don't want to, like
You there.
it's how your brain
You
is
there. That's how we
designed.
wired.
That's how we're wired. Yeah, yeah, Donna, absolutely. Change the soundtrack to the background music of our life. Hmm. Mm. Mm.
We
Mm.
try to hold ourselves back tonight. We try to
Hey,
get these life updates. Just go ahead and start dropping the life updates and how the
yep.
weekend's been, and what you've been thinking about wrestling with, how you seeing God move. Just drop all of that. Just drop all of that in, because we
Yeah.
we chomping at the bit a little bit. We're just trying
Hmm.
to hold it back, because woo,
Hey, shout out. Okay, Rain Gang, shout out to y'all. So as y'all know, it has been uh, a challenge for me. Not a challenge. Let me back up. I'm in a place, man. So I'm in a place where I don't feel compelled or obligated to close the rings. Now,
mm,
now hold on. Every single day.
Seasons
Yeah,
change.
let me, yeah. Let me back. Cause yo, so mad respect, yo, Cerise, Miguel. There's a few people that close.
Yeah.
I resonate though with some of us now than before who we trying, we doing our best. We doing our best. And you just don't know what's going on in our lives. So there are those of us who are in the rain gang, right? Who we might not have closed our rings every day this week, or maybe not even a full day
Mhm.
this week yet. Week's not over, y'all. And I want to say something to those of you who might be predisposed to certain attributes like I might be. Um, I actually realized that it was okay. And I was telling Sarisa, I was like, my goal is to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right.
Mhm.
So when I put the watch on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like I'm killing it. My body can only take Monday, Wednesday. So for me, I'm no longer just like closing the rings with walking because I did that for a minute, right? Because that's all I could do since like late November, you know. And so what I started doing, I think I mentioned this last week, was I started doing burpees again. I don't know if I mentioned that, but so like exercising, like that's a big deal. It's a big deal. Like coming from the shoulder injury
Yeah, you
and
couldn't do that for a minute.
only wearing the brace like at night now. So the interesting thing is that I'm starting slowly, and so like last week, yeah, I died. Last week it was Monday. I only did 15, I think, and I think 2 sets to 15, 2 sets. P, you remember when I was like doing like 80 straight?
Your body was like, what you doing, fam?
Only 2 sets of 15, and it wasn't the muscle that was hurting; it was my cardio. It was just like, oh my god, crazy. Blessing that I had a brace. So I have like different kinds of braces. So I had a brace on it and actually did that. And I realized it wasn't a muscle issue, it was like a cardio issue. It's
Mhm.
like, wow, okay, there's a difference, there's a shift. And so it's humbling to rebuild. So,
Mm.
then I did 2 sets of 16
Yeah.
and
Ooh.
2 sets of 70. So listen, I only wore my watch Monday, Wednesday this week.
Yo,
Didn't
why
do it
didn't you
today
go from like 15 to like 40?
because I learned my lesson. You remember when I was running last year? My body said, "Oh, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we not built like that anymore." Yeah, I would have taken 10 steps back, trying to push my body to a place that it's not ready to go. Um, so I'm mentioning this because some of us, man, we're still wired to close the ring, close the deal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're trying to finish the chapter of the book, and I want to just balance this out, y'all. You're gonna hear some of this tonight. Um, don't do it to the detriment of your health. So this quarter for me has been the quarter of it'll get done. Now I must say, in order to do that and to operate like that, there's some other things that had to happen for me to be in that space.
Yeah.
Because last
Absolutely.
year it was no it'll get done. It was like do or die, do or die. I gotta do
Yeah.
it.
It
That
changes.
that season has changed.
It changes. It changes.
So now the challenge was, why are you still, when you are in a place that gives you the opportunity to rest fully, go after what you wanted to go after. When it's
Listen,
there, take it. Don't.
adaptively, man, I'm just thinking about seasons changing and seeing if anybody has any life updates you want to drop in the
Hey, yeah,
comments.
y'all, drop them joints in. Drop them joints.
Man, my kids are younger. My oldest is about to be 14. So
Dang,
my kids are,
already? Dang.
yeah. My kids are younger, just all over you, crawling on your back, hanging out, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we homeschooled one this year. The other was in virtual school. Shout out to Octavia hanging out with us. Happy Sabbath fam. And my oldest daughter, man, she's just unique in her style. And her like seasons change, right?
Mm-hmm.
As when she was smaller, all up on you, all of that. Now it's like don't talk to me until my work is done.
Mm, mm,
Literally.
yeah, yeah.
Don't say hi. Don't ask for no updates. Don't try
I'm
to
in the
high
zone.
five me. Don't no. We
Mm,
ain't doing no chit chat. When my work is done, I'll come out. I'll party with the best of them, hang out, crack jokes, play games. But until my work is done,
yeah.
I ain't gonna be doing all that talking.
Mm.
And for me, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Like, but the season has changed for her.
Season has changed.
Where her focus is and what her intentions are.
Yeah.
And for me, it's as a dad, it's like, okay, check your ego, check your feelings. Stop trying to make it more than it actually is.
Mhm.
You should be hyped that your kid is super focused
Mm,
and is crushing it.
mm,
You trying to you sad because you can't get a fist bump and a high five?
mm, mm.
That time will come, but it won't come in the same way that it's always been there. Because for both her and you, the season has changed, man.
It's
So
different.
yeah,
It's
it's
different.
different.
Ooh, all right. So Reese coming in the clutch. Hey, listen. Hopefully this will spark.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You know, and it could
I saw
very
the
well.
post this week about that too, Cerise.
Yeah.
When you
Okay.
posted.
So, and this could very well be the fact that we just supposed to get right into it.
Oh, I think so.
That very well just might be it. So life update. So Sri says, I will break this up because it's a lot. So background: my bonus daughter was assaulted and abducted last February by a guy she broke up with. A month after abducting her, his friend killed a friend she was hanging out with. His trial was this week for the abduction, and it was a lot emotionally for her and us all to have her torn apart on the witness stand. Yeah, yeah, accused of
Mm.
lying, etc. But God, because prayers were sent up, and within an hour of deliberation, they came back with a guilty verdict. And she dropped a for the wind emoji. Oh, he also has to face charges in PG County. What's PG?
Prince George's County.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
this week's trial was for Prince William County, but the assault and abduction started in Prince George's County. Hey, listen, y'all, the chickens will come to roost. Hey, and let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. As we talked about seasons changing, his story isn't over either. There's a text in First Corinthians that talks about removing people. It's like, listen, y'all just been living like it's all good. We need to remove y'all. Y'all are like a virus, and you're just leeching, and can't nobody, because there's no accountability, so can't nobody say nothing. Take them out. That's licentiousness, by the way. Licentiousness is doing it, and you're just doing it openly. You ain't even trying to hide it. You just like, blah. This is what it is. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. So there's somebody in the community of faith that was just like, Paul was like, yo, take him out. As a matter of fact, I ain't even there. This is why just some of the things that we set up, man, in the community of faith doesn't make sense. He said, we're not voting about this. I'm sending you this letter because in the spirit, the vote is not a democracy. It's theocratic.
Yeah.
Things that were broken. So I'm sending this to you with confirmation that you got to remove him. And by removing him, by the grace of God, he might be saved.
Yeah.
It's a dual work that's happening, y'all. It's a dual work. Like, we're fighting for those who, I think the word innocent came to mind, right? Mm-hmm. Fighting for the innocent, those who didn't deserve what happened to them. And then on the other side too, y'all, there's a ministry for that. I think when we went to
San Antonio.
And it didn't, I don't think it was as real as it was actually listening to judges who like have created courts for individuals to have a second chance. Like it's out there. But let me but hold on. Let me tell you something. Sometimes that second chance still comes with a cost, though.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Like you ain't just pat on the wrists and just And if it's not with time for a lot of people that they have to suffer through it, sometimes it's through violence. Not that we're condoning violence, but sometimes something.
Catch these hands.
But there still are second chances. However, Cerise's life update is not about the second chances. It's about the justice that needed to happen. Mercy without justice is enablement, y'all.
Yep.
So for those of you that might be resonating with one side or the other, the focus tonight is that just. So just wanted to throw that out there, Pete, because my Wi-Fi is my Wi-Fi tripping?
A little bit.
A little bit. And I'm directly connected too, man. So
I thought you left me for a minute, but we up in here.
Yeah, okay.
Here. We ain't going nowhere.
Okay, cool. Like I'm directly linked. So, but yeah. So El Marie, she said I did some cleaning out this week, which I was not in an emotional position to do before. The weight lifted was immediate. Physical space is cleaner, but I'm lighter in every regard. Praise God. I was reminded that healing and growth are processes which cannot be rushed, and to trust God's time. All right. Okay.
Man, the connection between us two.
Okay. So part of my life, well, it wasn't really a life update, but just kind of, it was some kind of update. Was this space that I'm in? It's in a space where it's like there's no sense of unnecessary urgency. Not everything is no longer in the important and urgent quadrant. Everything has to be done. What's the rush? It's in God's timing. So she's humbled by that message and she's thankful for the progress. Yeah, that's awesome. Healing is regrowth. It takes time too. I don't know anything in this world that heals like.
No.
Even plastic.
Bro.
Does plastic heal? Anyway, let me just.
Oh no, you whatever engineering, architecture, design related, that's on you. I'm sure they have some eco plastic that replenishes itself.
But even that takes time. You want to take the next one, P?
Yeah, so read Praise Report 2.0. I've been looking for part 2. I've been looking for a part-time job that will work with my full-time job. I went on a random virtual interview. Anyway, just random. Click. Boop. The interviewer was somebody I used to work with. God moved part 1. Random interview, somebody I used to work with. Then I got offered the job, but the job was full-time. They were converting to part-time. And then the hourly rate is more than what I prayed for. Now let's just look at the progression of this.
Go ahead.
Make something that's not there.
It's there.
But we have a situation, right?
Yeah.
There are certain sections of your life where before justice, you go through a very difficult place. Now, the situation itself was difficult and traumatizing, and words can't express properly what a person is going through.
Yeah.
And then on turning in the direction of justice, still having your name drug. So being accused of lying, being pulled apart, right? What you're looking for is coming, that space in the middle where it gets really tough.
Yeah.
And then sometimes where, okay, it's there, but you don't have the bandwidth to deal with it. Like El Marie, I don't have emotionally, so I know things need to be moved, but emotionally I just can't right now.
Yeah.
And God's timing, and that happens. And then it's like, okay, I'm ready for something, and it happens almost immediately. And the frustrating part for us as humans is we start to compare.
Right.
How come Cerise got the job randomly like that, but her daughter has to wait a long time, And then El Marie is in this pattern of trying to regain her strength and clarity and emotional resolve so that she can move forward. I
Mhm.
want my stuff to happen as fast as Cerese's.
Give it to me. Da-dum, da-dum.
And it's like
Mhm.
it's it's being it's not even okay.
Yeah.
Because okay seems to suggest a position of disappointment. It's celebrating a God whose timeline
Mhm.
literally drives us crazy and is the best for us.
And it only drives us crazy when we worry about it.
As if, and Jesus was up on this, he was like, listen, worrying literally changes nothing. In fact, worrying increases your stress,
Mhm.
and most of the diseases and illnesses you deal with are a byproduct of stress. So you're literally killing yourself
Yep.
by worrying about things that you uh
Told you we were given the power to shape and to change and to create reality, but there's some things that we can't. There are limitations.
bro, I was worrying about something this week and God was like,
Why?
why are we doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got news earlier,
Hmm.
and my knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, God was like, are you
Yeah.
I need you to grow up a little bit, son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you falling out, you crying, you rolling in the mud, you
Yeah.
doing all of that chicanery,
Mm.
don't change nothing.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let me tell you what happened this week. Dr. J says it's celebrating a God whose timeline is gracious to us and our abusers slash oppressors. That is one of the only reason things take so long.
Bruh, didn't God say, yo, y'all can't come out yet? Because the
Genesis
Amorites
16.
still got
I think it's Genesis 16. He was like,
the Amorites I'm still
I'm
working
giving
with
them
the Amorites.
400 years. So in my as I try to be a public defender for them, I'm going to be
Yeah,
the warden for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna put you in jail, but I'm gonna put them in purgatory.
And I'm like, yo,
Hey,
what? No, I
15.
don't care about them. I don't care about the Amorites.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey. What they got to do with me? What I did? Yeah.
Yo, and part of okay, let me pull it back. Let me pull it back. I'm
Hey,
just
let
gonna
me,
write
hey,
it in my Bible. I'm
hey,
gonna write it in my
let's
Bible.
so we're talking. You know, I don't know. Maybe it should be something that's more of a sensitive thing to talk about, but maybe it's not out. There's certain things I just really don't. You know, unless creditors gonna watch Worship the Word one day and be like, we need to take
Man,
note.
listen, I can Google your report right now, fam.
Couple weeks back, I was like, yo, I was stressing over, my credit score, and Pastor E. Brooks, let's go, Pastor Consultant.
Yeah. He in these streets.
And I was like, God bumped my joint up like 50, 60 points. I was just like, yo, why was I stressing? Because, there are things that need to be done. And for those things to happen, I need to have a good credit score.
Yo, God gave you that experience boost?
Yo, boo.
Holy Spirit gave you that boost?
Hey, here's a crazy thing though. So, FICO is typically used more because of its transparency, I guess. Because so here's the other thing, y'all. There's an arbitrary way that this stuff is seen as well. So that's how come it's so confusing. You have Advantage 3.0, which is one, and you got different scales that people use. But FICO is typically the one, from my understanding, that is not only the most transparent, but it's used for like mortgages and da-da-da, right? So when I checked the FICO joint, I was like, dang, the other joints boost, but this one ain't. And then P this week, my FICO score jumped higher than the boost. It jumped almost 100 points, bro. And I had to say to myself, while I am working to pay off certain things,
come on,
and increasing, there's things that you got to do. Right?
Yeah. It's a process.
It's a process. For some of y'all that don't know, let's put you on game right now. If you've had a hard time with like credit in the past for whatever reason. For me, it was opening up a business and putting everything in there and then right? Whatever. There are secured credit cards that are out there that you take your own money and you open your own credit line. And then in like 6 to 8 months, they'll give it back to you. But the whole point is you're investing your own money so that it's like it's not a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, opening the new credit line, it also allows the powers that be to see, you're paying it on time, blah, blah, blah. Point is, putting in the work on this side, I'm just go right into it. So I'm no longer thinking about the score and the credit. I'm now just putting in the work and I'm letting go of the reality that I want to get to a certain level. I had to let that go.
Yeah.
And focus on the work that needed to be done.
Oh, you coming for me today? Okay.
Yeah, I had to live my life. Hey, yo, Philly chapter 2. Like,
let's go. Right, we going in.
Like that's what it is. Because this reality, we're gonna probably turn this over multiple times with Bible characters and maybe real life stories. But this reality, y'all, happens time and time again. It's like as soon as you choose to let the thing die.
Yeah. Yep.
And live your life. We die and live your life. God is like, okay, cool. I'm gonna take care of that. Oh, you thought the little bump that I did last? Yo, when was the last?
Yeah. When was it?
It'd be taking 30 days, y'all, for stuff to be turning around and for God to be pushing stuff. Auntie Pam is on the line with us. What's going on? Pamela Horn, it's so good to see you. It has been a while. I think it was last week or this week that she checked in as well. Listen, I be trying to keep up with the Rain Gang, just doing a little better. So honestly, as I returned to Florida for spring break with my youngest son, Micah, I was concerned about taking a vacation with just him. Usually Florida is our home base and we island hop, but I had to tend to some other stuff. Doctor appointment, looking for property. I was totally surprised when he said to me, Mom, this was the best vacation. I'd grown accustomed to giving my children great experiences, and this was the most basic and straightforward vacation ever.
I don't have the rest of that.
I will have to find it. Micah is and by the time I get it, I don't even have the app open. It just cut off, right? Okay. Yeah, Pete. Let me see if I can find it.
Why you looking it up, man? Why you looking it up, man? Just perception. I had grown accustomed to giving my children great experiences, and this is the most basic and straightforward vacation ever. Mm-hmm. What changed the experience from Micah? And maybe that's in the rest of it because we can't see it. If somebody cut it, paste it for us.
I think I got it, P.
Cool.
I thought I had it. Micah is our fifth and final. I was excited to learn that he still can hang with his mom and enjoy it. He's a fantastic kid, and I am. It just disappeared. What happened to it? Oh, Facebook be tripping. He's a fantastic kid, and I'm proud to be his mom. I teach at the high school he attends, and I know that it is difficult for him, but he rolls with it. He's a 4.0 student, no behavioral issues, and just well-balanced. It helped me realize how blessed I am in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's weird seeing me read while I'm reading. That was a weird experience just now.
Let's jump into this discussion, God. We're just grateful that you can allow us to reflect and celebrate your goodness. There's a lot of moving parts of things that are going on.
Yeah.
With our just so many concerns. Donnie and Elaine already dropped a prayer request. Pam dropped one. Carlos dropped one as well. Yeah. And we're wrestling, God, with the duality of trying to trust that everything will be okay and dive into your word. But we were reminded by Octavia that faith and worry can't hang out in the same space.
Right.
So we trust you as we reflect on your word in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. All right, P. How we doing this?
Yeah, let me. Where we at? What you saying?
Philly 2.
Yep.
Yeah, let's start with verse 5. So verses 1 through 4, y'all. Paul is just letting them know and understand, you know, and I don't, you know what, Pete, let's just, is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love, any fellowship together in the spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and one purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Hey. So tonight we're talking about the cost of greatness, y'all. And before we even get to the meat of this, he is encouraging the believers in Philippi. It's not like they're wayward or anything, y'all. It's encouragement that he's giving, and he says, listen, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. It's different from having the imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from having low self-esteem. Humility does not mean that you think of yourself less than as much as you think of others better than you. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. All right, here's the meat, y'all. 5 through 11. 5 through 11. Okay, so you must have the same attitude. Let this mind, right? You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. All right, here we're gonna go. We're talking about the cost of. Okay, so this may not relate to those of you right now who don't have yet a goal, a dream, a vision. So for me, and this is just a I'm just riffing right here, y'all. The difference right now in this very moment between goal and dream dream and vision is a dream is given and a vision. Well, visions are given too because, yeah, so I probably messed that up because God also gives a vision and he gives a dream. The visions that I'm talking about are the ones that we have, like with the vision boarding and
Yeah.
that's the kind of vision that I'm talking about, y'all. So not the supernatural vision where it's like I had a vision and I saw representatives of things that I now need interpretation for, or things that are very similar and I know exactly what they mean. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So goals / vision, like kind of in one bucket, y'all. Goals and vision are two different things, though. So it's like how you intend for your life to be and to look like. And yes, God has placed that in you. All right. So you may not have a big enough dream, goal, vision, or attribute. There are some things, qualities, personality traits that God has put in you, and you probably aren't ready to release it yet.
Yeah, to walk in that.
Release it. I don't know how I say. Oh, because I was thinking unleash, release. So you releasing, right? So those are. So if tonight you may not feel like that was cool, but I'm not really. Think about something that is big enough, bigger than you, goal, dream, vision, attribute, that you are ready to do something for or about.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back, P. Oh no, yeah. When you're ready,
it's there. It's there. Because I was just thinking about the thing that we use our current thing to hide from. Because some of us are doing something that falls in line with the vision that's written and the dream that's given,
right?
The goal and the plan, even the sense of calling, but it ain't the thing. We're kind of using this to hide a little bit, to cover a little bit, and to say, I'm kind of doing it almost as a substitute. So,
did I freeze just now?
Yeah, you freeze.
Yeah.
I won't tell you. We still here.
Okay. Now, I have to make sure that my the internet, for whatever reason, man, this week has been crazy. So okay, have the same attitude. Though he was God, he did not think equality with God as something to cling to. All right. So when we look at different versions, here's the first thing. We're just gonna kind of just walk through it, and P, you already know how we're gonna do this. As soon as we're just gonna chime in back and forth. Okay. So another way of looking at what the cost of greatness is it has to die first. Okay. But we're not even at that part yet, though, y'all.
Bro.
Here's the first part that we're at. The first part is that you already have it.
Mhm.
You can't be willing to even think about that thing yet until you accept the fact that it's already been given to you. The dream,
Didn't you talk
vision,
about this
the goal.
6 months ago, where you were talking about, I think, with redemption narratives, this idea of you're already set aside for a purpose. Like that was the you kept coming back to that. Like that's built in already.
It's built in. Like your philosophy. So my philosophical worldview, as someone who believes that there is a designer, there's somebody who has created all of this. They've even created the bang to happen for everything to. Where did the bang come from? All of that. Y'all already know creationism versus evolution, whatever. Point is, my belief starts with it was already given to me. It was already in reservation. Like it's already there for me. Nothing else matters if I don't accept for my worldview, for the way that my construct works as a monotheistic, Christocentric believer. If I don't believe that it was given, if it was placed there, then there's no accountability. There's a few things that just won't line up, right? And so I have to believe that it's already there. So let's go back, verse 5. Let's go back up just a little bit because have the same mindset, right? Have the same attitude. Though he already had it. Yo, listen.
Yeah.
Like we go by the grace of God, man. We're trying to make this thing as plain as day, man. And I think I missed this one in the comments. So Damian Chandler wrote, "Vision is written, dream is given." I think that's what you said that, and then it got scrambly for me, right?
Yeah, we pulled it up.
Okay, cool. Because that's a great way of framing that. It's already given. The goal, the dream, the vision, the attribute. It's already, so though it was already given. So this is, y'all, none of this matters. The rest of 6 down to 11 doesn't matter if your faith piece is jacked up. Yo. Like if you don't believe that it was given to you, hey, we broke this down before. The Greek when Lucifer was tempting Satan, I think it's in Matthew 4, it might be in Mark. I think Mark starts immediately, so it might be in Mark 1. He says, "If you are the Son of God," and there are 3 in English. There are 3 conditions of the word if right? Yeah. So in Greek, it uses the first class condition. So if I were a man, that's true. If I were a man and I am, I would da 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 da.
Yep.
If I were to make 8 figures, now, don't know if I'm gonna make 8 figures. It's not true. But it ain't true either because it's not there. So it's the second class condition. It's like it could be or it may not be. Right. Third class condition is if I were a woman, I'm not a woman, I would do this. Man, if I was Chris Rock in that situation, it's a lot of people living in the third class condition of if, and they're not really living life.
Yeah, run it back.
Oh God. Like there are people, man, who just their reality is in the third class condition of if. That is their reality is to do things as if they were someone or something that they are not. And it's easier to live life that way because not only is it not true, you now don't have an expectation for it to happen. Though he was God, if you are the Son of God. So when Satan said, if you are, it wasn't class condition number 2. Well, you don't know if you are or not. You don't know if you are. And it wasn't number 3 where he was saying, if you are, because you're not. It was number 1. If you are the Son of God, which you and I both know. We are up there together. I know who you are.
Yeah.
So if you are, and you are commanded these stones, your level, listen, your level of not even just temptation, but struggle is different when you begin to accept your first class conditioning of what God has made you.
You know what's so crazy about that, Chris? It's like living in third condition because it's easier, but I'm denying the power,
bro.
Both the weight, right?
Yeah.
The cost. Yeah. I'm living in third class condition because of the weight and the cost, but I'm denying myself of the benefit and opportunity that comes from living like who I actually am. And theologically, Paul is writing because there was this idea that Jesus put on Christhood, that it wasn't, that Jesus was not John 1 in the beginning was.
Right.
But part of what Paul is wrestling with is this theological idea that Jesus just put that bad boy on. Jesus was actually living the ideas that Jesus was living third class. He wasn't really God. He wasn't really the Christ. He just put that on. Paul is like, nah, fam.
It's kenosis and
Jesus has always been God.
Yeah.
And living in that reality, that first class, allows him to not overplay the fact that he's God.
Hey, peace. I almost felt Greek, but that's the one thing that stuck. If there's anything that I learned from Dr. Richardson's class, and I was that one. Hey, you have to start with though you are.
Yeah.
You nothing else matters tonight, y'all.
Oh. Yo, the Maverick City song, man, I'm sure Damien knows it. The Maverick City song, how's it like? I'm already loved, I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. And like the end of part of that, like that's enough. Like they repeat that 6 or 7 times. Like I know who I am. And how many times do I approach? Okay, I see what you did there, Chris. Do I approach the next challenge that I'm facing from third class condition? So I get a phone call and I don't respond like who I am.
Right.
I respond like somebody else or who I think I should be in this situation, because it's easier for me to respond this way with no expectation than to respond, okay, I heard it. I trust God gonna work it out. I'm not gonna worry.
Man.
Then I turn third class and become like super holy. No, I'm not. I ain't gonna mess with nobody tonight. I'm just gonna drink my tea.
Hey, listen, man. Like God is very. I'm not gonna do that.
Water too. Chris, you said something to me last week, man. We were talking, and you was like, "Man, God already knew that, though."
He already knew that.
God already knew you was gonna do that. He already knew.
Let's go. Sorry to 8. Sorry to 8. God has a okay.
Yep.
Well, he was God. He did not think of an equality with God as something to cling to. Okay, so what that means is he didn't think that being equal to so let me tell y'all, you're gonna see this in the passage. There are levels to being God.
Oh, we going God levels today?
Whereas God levels. So at this point, God is God. And he was like, there was nothing, there was no, remember y'all, we were talking about the attribute of being God wasn't something to cling. So I like the King James. The King James says, and y'all know I have a love-hate relationship with the King James. The King James says that he thought it not robbery
Yeah.
as something to be attained, some language like that, but they use the word robbery. Okay. All right. The reason why I like that is because what they really are saying, like when you look at all of the passages that says cling to or to grasp, when you put robbery in there, it's not something to grasp as if you never owned it.
Yeah, you stole that.
It's not
Ooh,
because you
Ooh.
already have it.
ooh.
Tag you in.
So, and that's what makes it tough because
Yeah.
when I step into certain situations, imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like I'm stepping into it through robbery.
Yep.
I don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
I don't deserve. I don't deserve. I don't deserve.
Yeah.
But the fact, and I think Lana just talked about it, like we're heirs. And as heirs, as children, there are some privileges. Now, what I do with my divine privileges is a totally different conversation. But how do we forgive ourselves? I think we were talking about a few weeks ago from the toxic thinking,
right?
That I don't deserve or I don't belong. Listen, as a child of the King, I'm coming up in here.
That's it. Like, y'all, clinging to is a form of robbery. Because even though it was given to you, it's still not yours to begin with. It was given to you. Take ownership of it, but the real ownership?
Yeah.
So it's robbery on two different levels. Okay, so all right. I had to write this down, P. So I had some scribbles, so I had to write this down. So the first thing is you have it, right? First thing is you have it. So you already have the vision, the dream, the goal, the attribute in your possession. Right. Number two is you have to kill it or think less of it. Number three is kill it too, but I don't know how else to say it, but you got to think less of the thing. And when I say think less of it, I'm not saying that you are downplaying the gifts that God has given. That's not what I'm saying, y'all. What I'm saying is that the gift is not as important as being present and serving others.
The challenge with the vision of with scripting and crafting and collages, we don't do collages anymore, but we tore up a lot of magazines in the library back in the day.
National Geographic for it.
Listen, is we forget this whole, and Paul talks about growing from faith to faith, right?
Yeah.
We forget that when God gives us a glimpse or we articulate what the next step or next season is, we forget that oftentimes it is not the thing that we have articulated that is the real goal. The real goal is who I submit to the Holy Spirit so that I can become in the process, because we know so many people who have gotten the goal but not they didn't experience transformation, and they end up
they robbers. You can rob your
Yep.
All right, so this is crazy. This is crazy. And guess what, y'all? Guess what, y'all? You can't rob nothing if you don't believe that you already have it. Let me say it again. You can't cling to something that you don't even believe you have. So you need to first start. This is a different side. So that we're not dealing with trying to convince you. No, this is when you already realize, yep, I got it. I got the sauce. I got the blessing. I've got the anointing. I've got the gift. I've got the people. I've got whatever it is that God has given. The goal is shaped. It's clear. I got it. Step two is not think less of it.
Okay, Abraham.
Balance, y'all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pour everything into going after what God has sent you to do, your assignment. I'm not saying that. However, if your whole life becomes about the assignment,
we worship the assignment.
That's the problem. The difference between Jesus and Lucifer was that Jesus did not worship his God nature. Lucifer worshiped something
Yeah.
that on some level he had. He wasn't God, some level
Built with.
And yet that was the thing. Isaiah 14, that was the thing that he wanted to attain. So you're not only robbing yourself, but you're trying. You can't. Well, the man robbed.
Yeah.
But you're trying to steal from God, which doesn't make sense. All right. It begins with though he was. All right. So you already have it. You got to think less of it. Here's the next thing though. Then you got to let it go. So let's pull up the verse. Let's pull up the verse again, because now this is crazy, y'all. He says, yeah, so he did not think, right? He did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Here's a crazy thing. It wasn't even him thinking about his godness. It was thinking about the equality or the status of it. So let's peel it back just a little bit more. So if you are saying to yourself, well, I still don't get it. Like if he gave it to me, then why? It's not about the thing as much as what the thing represents. And what you are married to and what you are trying to cling to is the representation of the thing God's given you. Most worship isn't even about the thing itself. It's about what it represents.
Yeah.
So most times we say, well, we're worshiping the gift and not the gift giver. And you're but it's also because of what the gift is about. In this case, it's equality. Me and God, we see eye to eye. We see eye to eye because I have the attribute of being God. And being God gives me equality with the Father.
Oh, that's Genesis 3.
Let us. Sorry, that was 1 and 2.
When
you
Eve,
talking about
when
the
she
fall.
sees.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, y'all, like, so, okay. I'm glad you said that, P, because now that you understand it's really around what it represents, this is what he did next. You can't do this until you start to think less of the thing and what it represents. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges and he took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being.
Oh,
I don't have the biblical breakdown of this. I don't, Pete, maybe you do, but all I know is that not only did he give something up, but he replaced it with something else.
I'll just tap in to say, some of us, the direction is clear, but the progress is stilted because we're not helping nobody.
At all.
Jesus gives up his divine privileges and took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. And as Paul is framing this, he is saying Jesus has ultimate power, authority, privilege.
Yeah.
And what Jesus elevates is the opportunity to take care of other people. Now, the crazy thing about it is it's his equality with God.
That's good.
That makes the sacrifice, like only God can do this thing. But as we look at the progression of it, and how many times when you think of, okay, that whole mantra of where I should be, God called me to do this, it begins to be very siloed. We get very narcissistic because sometimes in our pursuit of the thing and even worshiping God through what he's given to us, we lose the servant's heart. Like some of us are so committed to the closing of the ring that we've never considered anybody else.
Good. And so let's just combine them because before he can do verse 8, really 7b, so to speak, he had to do verse 7
Yeah.
The humble position. But okay. So here's the difference between, or one of the differences between, especially back then, Christianity and asceticism.
Hmm.
Asceticism is he gave up his divine privileges, period. Done. And for a lot of us, we just believe if I just give of myself, if I just sacrifice, God is gonna bless me because I've cut off everything. I've even cut off family. I've cut off my human desires that I've got. I just cut it off. Remember what we said 2 weeks ago? When you clean up the house,
Yeah, and leave that joint empty.
you leave that joint empty.
Quick.
Quick, yo.
They open
That's-
late.
It's some of y'all empty though. Jesus didn't just give up the divine privileges, he then replaced it with a humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. I'm sure there's a lot to unpack right there. There's a lot to unpack right there.
What's wild conceptually?
Mm.
The fact that Jesus chose disciples. Jesus don't need no help.
He doesn't need anybody.
Like all the colloquialisms that we have. Like Jesus got the juice, Jesus got the sauce, Jesus is the man. Like Jesus can do everything by himself. Yeah. And not only does he choose disciple, he chooses people that in order to get them up to speed, he has to teach them, train them, serve. I'm like, that's bruh. We could have knocked this out in a year, 6
and
months.
And the ragamuffins. He could have found another Nicodemus.
He could, 2, 3. We ready? We shutting it down. Let me find 2, 3 with all the influence who already know it. They just need their theology shifted. Who already got the social capital. Who already got a few coins. We can shut this whole thing down. He's like, nah. Let's start from the bottom.
Yeah, started from so here. I will say this. I'll just get to the end. Jesus didn't do this with the anticipation of what God the Father did for him.
Yeah.
If you want to make an indelible impact, there are some things that you have to be willing to do that's going to take more time.
Yep.
Seth Godin calls it the dip. It's the slog between you starting off as the novice and being the expert at the thing. And this dip is where most people find their graves. Not many people come out of the dip. And as a matter of fact, he says it's okay when you hit the dip to choose whether or not you still want to commit to it. But don't go halfway through, 3/4 through, and then talk about, you know what? No, why would you do that to yourself? Like, knowing to quit. He says, as a matter of fact, quitting is not a bad thing. There's a strategic way of quitting. Ooh. But here, if you believe that, and everybody has this, so it goes back to verse 5, y'all. So that's like I'm saying, if you believe that God right now has placed something tremendous for you to do, and that's still not even what you can conceive of, but it's big enough for you to be like, God, wow, how am I going to do this? Then there are some humble, like people reference the disciples, there's some humbling tasks you are going to do in order to get to the next step. There has been nobody that I can think of, at least the ones who have been transparent, who we would consider successful or wealthy, or that hasn't gone through like, man, I remember when I had $5 to my name. There's nobody that I can think of who you right that like, or who was homeless at some point, or who was on the verge of losing their family, or who lost their family, and now because of that there is now a whole nother ministry. I'm not just talking about church, y'all.
Yeah,
nonprofit organizations, and maybe even just legislative acts that have happened because listen. It doesn't come. There are people who I didn't know who are like amazing speakers who have kids that have like either autism or like some sort of thing that they have to pour themselves into more than what they do for their work. And we don't think about that stuff. We just see the person, but we don't see the stuff that they had to humbly position themselves to.
I think, wrestling with the question, I think one of the reasons why Jesus chose to operate that way, and I'm projecting here a bit, is recognizing in our place. See, when Jesus, if we go back earlier in the chapter, he was God, right?
Yep.
He was God, and that comes with how it's framed. It comes with infirmities, but not propensities. There was nothing in Jesus that desired to sin.
Right.
This is the idea of him being born as the second Adam.
Mm-hmm.
But he has infirmities. Infirmities is, Jesus can get hurt. He can get stressed. He can break down. He can be overwhelmed. And he's showing in his life that being overwhelmed, you don't have to succumb just because you have the feeling of being overwhelmed. But what's also important for us as we carry a God likeness, that sometimes we get to the point where we think, because I carry a God likeness, that God likeness operates in singularity. So because I carry a God likeness, I demonstrate my God likeness by not asking for help. And there are so many of us. I'm trying to prove that I can do this on my own, when that is not a quality
at all
that Jesus displays
at all. And I want to break up the two though, because in verse 7 he gave up and he replaced, but it's really verse 8, end of verse 7, when he says, when he appeared in human form, then he took, okay. So okay. Let me go back. So the next thing is you gotta let it go. So think, you have it, think less of it. You gotta let it go, right? Kill it. Verse 8 is about living your life. You live your life without the goal, vision, or the attribute. Now I know you're gonna say, "What a vision! You need it because I get it." No, listen. But remember, we talked about what context living your life without it means. If you're already thinking less of it, you have to be willing to live your life as if it were never to happen, I could still live my life the way that God wanted me to live my life. Let me tell you, I have been trapped with believing that there's always been the one thing that God wanted me to do. And if I couldn't do the one thing, then I'm not the person God wanted me to do. So there's a lot of people living out there where you either have felt like you've done the wrong thing all your life, or you did something wrong, the privilege or whatever has been taken away from you, whatever it is. And now that it's no longer there, you feel as if you have no purpose. Verse 8 is about, now that I have cloaked, I have put on, I have positioned myself to be in a humble, I position myself to be in the humble place to work. Verse 8 is, I got to now do the work. So he appeared in human form, and then he humbled himself in obedience to God. Number 5, you have to be willing to die without it. So verse 8 is, you got to be willing to live without it. And it's also, you got to be willing to die without it. For the sake of Christ, though. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Don't become no martyr and you ain't even know what you're martyring about.
Yo, we out here, man. Rebels without a cause.
Listen, man. Don't get me started.
Man, I got an email today. Was it today? My day's running together. I got an email today. And it was from somebody I work with, my speech coach, right? And I mentioned her before. And the uniqueness of it. Like I've taught speech for like over a decade.
The irony, the irony.
and this person, I started working with her last year. And it's really a good process, how we frame out content, how we approach the work, and how we connect with people. you know, and just, you know, I remember the beginning, it was so awkward for me because I'm like, I do this. Why am I
Who
talking
are
to you?
you to tell me?
I do this.
Right.
Like I do this.
You have been given the attributes, sir.
I do this. Why are we having this conversation? And she sent me an email today. And she said,
Yes,
you know
she did.
what? She said, you know, well, first, when we were talking, she was like, just so you know, my price went up. Yesterday's price.
Yesterday's price?
We were talking and she said, you know, I really appreciate, bro, I really appreciate working with you over this past year because you were one of the first clients that I had when I started my business. Now, when we talked in the beginning about the work, she talked about her experience, and I went through and I saw her experience, and all of that is legit. I noticed she was at the beginning of her entrepreneurial journey when we started the conversation.
Right.
And I'm like, what if that had been the framing of our conversation before? But I still have been willing to humble myself to be coached by a person who has not done this for as long as I have.
Leading while green. She already read your book before she. Hey, listen. And you would have pushed back at every point.
And how many times do we do that? The thing that is crushing us, man. People are coming along, and yes, you got the juice. Yes, you got the sauce. Yes, you know how frustrating it could have been for Jesus to be like, yo, this disciple was 15 years old.
Bruh.
15 years old. I'm dealing with a kid. How I'm God. Really? I'm allowing a kid to, and we are missing out on the whatever the next is for us because of a couple of reasons. Number one, we won't humble ourselves enough to ask for help. And number two, we won't humble ourselves so that when the help comes in a different package than what we expect. Because how many times we do this as marketers, we do this. Man, I don't even like the way that person look.
I'm
gonna go to somebody else.
I'll go ahead and purchase that Leading While Green book when you're ready to transfer.
God will send people who don't look, and this was the whole Isaiah framework that Jesus came without form or comeliness so that you would not be physically attracted and enamored by him, and you would just have to take him for who he is. And a lot of us, God is like, yo, I'm trying to move you to next, but you're trying to gauge where you are on like a social media framework. And bro, did I tell you about how I was disappointed with public evangelism? Because I felt like I had been deceived.
This wasn't this year. Couldn't be this year.
This was years ago. So
okay.
I thought the thought for me was because I didn't know that the preacher comes, preaches, and 8 weeks later, a whole bunch of people. We talking about humility and help. 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, a whole bunch of people get baptized. That ain't how it works.
That's not how it works.
Without the people in the streets,
they would have never even
known
who. None.
Without the acknowledgement that this can only happen by a relationship with people who don't have my gifts. And that does not make me better.
Right.
And that's what's crushing us. The feeling of the angst of expecting everyone to be able to operate the way that you operate in your gifting. And holding people, do you understand what it would have been like if Jesus approached the disciples and said, "You gotta be exactly like me." And listen to what I'm saying, because I know, are we supposed to be Christ-like? And then, yes. And didn't Jesus say we would do greater works? Yes. But you ain't God.
You, as a matter of fact, the humility for God to now have the eternal debate of whether or not he was God when he came. That in itself
Still
is
debate.
humbling. Like, I mean, did he have the desires? Did he not? Like, for him to come down and not even to set the record straight. Oh, he gonna set the record straight.
Oh yeah. Every day.
Oh, we gonna get there. We gonna get
Every
there.
day.
The record will be set. But the fact that he even left certain things up for debate after he left is a form of humility in itself, especially because the biggest argument on the floor right now is about the fairness and justice of who God is.
Yeah. And not just globally, supernaturally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For me as an individual.
Yeah.
I'm debating internally.
Yeah.
Has God been fair to me?
Yeah.
Not just me, you too. Y'all know.
Yeah.
When stuff happens, the debate kicks off again. Has God been fair to me? Does God love me? Does God really want my best?
Verse 8, y'all. Verse 8, it's a mixture. You gotta be ready to let it go. Like, live your life without the thing. Think about your life. I'm thinking about mine. And of course, we don't have to like share every detail, but the point is, and honestly, you've already done, with the coaching. You were willing to live as if you weren't the speaker that you know you were for a year. Something happened to you this year where you said, I'm willing to die. And if I don't have had attained what I thought was the thing, I'd be okay, because it's not about the thing. What happens after that, y'all? So the whole point is, if you're willing to die without it, you get to a point where you say, it's okay. If you were to live without it, number one. And number two, you don't need the goal, the attribute, or the person. Some of us are still clinging to people.
Listen,
you don't need that to be you.
Kids, let it go.
Let it go.
She married with, she broke your heart. She married with 3 kids, man. Let it go.
Yeah, it's over. Move on.
He got grandkids now. Let it go.
Let it go. You don't need those things to be who God has called you to be. What do I mean? God didn't need equality with God to still be God. And it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense because God is a mystery. He's a mystery. But he humbled himself. And listen, because that's the debate. Was he still God? Or I don't know. He humbled himself. He became human. He's still God. And yet he died, still God. But he was willing to die without the thing, even though he was still the...
Why does God need God to elevate God?
Above God. All right. I'm just going right then because that's exactly what happened. Yo, listen. So verse 9. Verse 8, just a little bit more on verse 8. So not only did he humble himself in obedience to God, that's the key, y'all. We're not just talking about aesthetically living your life.
Nah.
Stripping away all things so that you live this rough
minimalist.
Yeah. You just that's not what we're talking about. You are living your life in obedience to what God has called you to do, regardless of what He's called you to. Mm-hmm. He's called you to be someone, and He's also called you to do some things. And what He's called you to be is saved. He's called you to relationship. 1 Corinthians 7. He says, listen, Paul hits it again. 1 Corinthians 7, he said, listen, if you a slave, now listen, slaves were different back then, y'all, so don't come for me, please. If you're a slave, It's okay. Stay a slave. Because in Christ you are free. And if you are free, man, stay free. Don't feel as if you need to become or go back to being a bond servant, because now that you're Corinthians had a big, like they had some challenges. He's like, don't feel like you have to now go through some rough process now that you are saved. Stay free.
Yo, don't we talk
But
about
you
that
was-
all the time? Like when
Yep.
people are like, they feel like they need a prodigal son story to be validated because of
tell
how
you.
we celebrate people that come back
Yep.
to the church.
If you want the kind of greatness that you believe God is calling you to, you will have a story. It may not be a prodigal story, but it's going to break you.
Oh yeah.
You're going to cry some tears.
Listen here.
That there's no way around it. I'm not talking about no minor, oh, the chains are free, I'm good. No, I'm talking about
And we're not talking about the brokenness that comes from doing stupid stuff either.
Exactly. It's the God, it's the sweat and blood in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like, God, if I don't have to do this, I'm not trying to get there. Yes, damn it. Yeah. Like that is the piece, y'all. You are humbly being who he's called you to be, and you're saying, God, I know that there's an assignment, but relationship with you. 1 Corinthians 7, he says, so if you are free, and then he says this, and then Paul says, listen, by any means, if you can get free, please be free. Like, don't be stupid, but know that you are free in Christ. And if you are free if you are a freed man, just know that you don't have to be a bondservant again, but just know that you are a slave to Christ. In other words, Christ normalizes every socioeconomic status. Like you don't have to try to elevate or de-escalate yourself in order to represent your relationship with God.
Yep.
Your relationship with God is enough. So we see in verse 8, not only did he humble himself in obedience to God, but he dies a criminal's death. Okay, yeah, because I'm after that, I'm just gonna landslide right in the.
It is the challenge of accepting that what I've been given by God requires difficult moments.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there is the idea of the crucible. There's only some certain things are only activated in the roughest of times.
Period.
And that can fall, like you said, the relationship with Jesus normalizes everything. So that my rough time and your rough time aren't the same, and we should not compare.
Yeah. Like I'm not a father with 2 kids.
It's a grit. There's a shaping and sharpening that happens.
Yeah.
When we experience I can't fully explain it, but you got to have that moment where or moments where you're like, God, what we doing?
Yep. Hey, so
exactly, Cerise.
Yep. So for me, being homeless wasn't the biggest challenge. There are two challenges. The first one was when I didn't understand why. But God has built. I have a So I have a very high threshold for a lot of stuff. Maybe that's why God there's some things that he wants me to do, because
I ain't trying to live that radical life like you.
I ain't trying to live that radical life, and people don't. I'm not. I don't want it. And here's the thing though. God will have me do illogical things because of how logical I am. It's one of the ways. It's one of the ways that when it pans out, I can't say, "Oh, well, I did the calculations and the projections, and I forecasted that this would happen." I was like, "No." So because you're wired that way, I'm gonna have to make you do some dumb stuff and make the dumb stuff work out. So at this point, 2 things. One of the things, and there's multiple, but the 2 I can think of right now is there was no logic to why. I'm like almost a month in, I hadn't showered, ankles are swollen, and I'm ready to peace out. I'm just like, God, this don't make sense. I know you have me here. I know that I'm supposed to be immersing myself and eventually you start to make narratives about why we are, because I mean that's how we are. We have to make a story. If you don't make a story about it, it's just not. So I'm trying to figure it out. And it's like, but it's not the math ain't mathing.
Listen, for y'all, if you don't know Chris and you just stumbled on Worship and Word and trying to figure out like where are we going with this, God has moved supernaturally in Chris's life, and I've only known him for 20 years. Because Chris is so logical, I have seen God call Chris to do a lot of things that don't. Chris gets a posting for an internship at the last minute, and has to literally like I've and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit my context. It's not my faith journey. But for some of us, God is like, yeah, this is what I want you to do. And the challenge for us is that we're waiting on the affirmation from other people who have had to do similar things. And sometimes God's like, nah, you ain't gonna get, there's nobody else that has had to do this like this in this way. And you gotta trust me through it. Because on the other side of this thing, and we try to hop over the middle, and get to the other side.
Okay, so I will say this now. The other side of this thing is a New York Times bestselling book. Let's go through the process, V. I'm still thinking of the two things. That's dream/vision. I love what Damien said. You write it when it's written, when it's given. Oh man, because the seed planted for the book came before my homelessness, way before I even thought that was something.
Oh,
come on, y'all! Like it wasn't like I had to create. I was gonna write something. I didn't even know what it was gonna be. And then the process happened. Here's a key. Oh, P, I see it. I see it on your face. What happened?
What did that rough patch unlock?
What didn't it unlock? There's a lot of things. So okay. So let me fast forward. The first one was when I got to the place where I said, this doesn't make sense. God, I'm going back home.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that there was supposed to be somebody waiting for me at the airport, and none of that happened. Almost a month in, I'm filthy. I don't even know how bad I smell, but I'm trying to keep myself, together with my pea coat. And it's interesting to see, guys, listen, because I've been there, I can see the individuals who walk on the streets and try to do the same thing. They have suits on and everything, but you can still tell that there's only certain things that you can tell when. All right, so fast forwarding, the moment that I said that this doesn't make sense, I'm leaving, my boy Anthony, spending his first Thanksgiving with his newlywed, Tasha, says, yo, man, I know you in the area, bro. Like, I don't know what's going, what's really popping out there, but because I don't know how much he knew about the experience that I was going through, right? And to give y'all some context, it wasn't like I was thrown into homelessness out of duress or some kind of. God was like, I need you to do something. You were trying to connect with homeless people and share their story here in Miami. Well, I need you to be one in New York City. Like, that's what that is. Long story short, he says, yo, man, come send a bus down to you, man. It's come to get you. As a matter of fact, because it's also our wedding anniversary. Oh no, I think it was his birthday. It's like because we celebrating, we gonna celebrate. Put you up in the hotel for the weekend, man. And I didn't cry because like but I was just like, oh my God.
It was misty.
God, if you only, of course he knew. And if you only knew, bro, I was ready. And I'm in Grand Central Station using the Wi-Fi on my phone because I don't have phone service anymore. That was number one. I did not still yet know the purpose, but I heard God say, take a reprieve and come back. It's Breakthrough number one. He still didn't tell me why I was there, but he said, I know how much you can Y'all, when I went ahead and used that porcelain tub, I didn't know how filthy I was until I actually took a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, shout out to Kirk, man. Yeah. Okay, number two. I don't want to belabor this thing.
No. Yeah. Walk it out, man. Walk it out.
So verse 8, right? We're talking about dying a death, right? But even the death on a cross, being what God has called you to be, and being willing to die in relationship with him, whether or not the assignment is completed. Your relationship with God is more important than the assignment he's given you. And for a lot of us, including myself, I put the assignment above my relationship with God. Why? Because if I can complete the assignment, then I can hear the well done, and my well done is interpreted as I am in relationship with you. It's not. Now you may say, but doesn't it say in obedience to God? Yeah, it does say that. But the true obedience was even, some verses say even, translations, even death on a cross. Obedience is only as good as if you're willing to let the thing truly go.
Yeah.
Y'all. And we're not, a lot of us aren't willing to let it go. Okay, so the second thing, using the homelessness example, right? Willing to let this thing go. So I'm obedient, God, I'm here. The second thing was allowing people to help me along the way. God has built me differently, so I could have stayed in a position to pull myself up, but I didn't realize that even to do that, you need people in order to do that, even if you don't think you need people. The most humbling thing was just after my homelessness was to ask people to help to fund the project that I developed because of being homeless. And those funds were used to help me graduate. Because the assignment, y'all, was to finish my master's. One of. God didn't tell me, I need you to go to New York City and be homeless because I need you to finish your degree. He said, I need you to go to New York City. Period. Stop.
Full stop.
Like that was I need you to be in relationship. Another breaking point was when I said to myself, you know what? Being homeless isn't that bad.
Oh.
Death on the cross.
You tried to stop in the middle, in the rough patch.
Yeah, in the rough patch. I now have come to the place, y'all. I'm probably tell this. There's this one dude named Bailey, man. When I came in, like within the first couple of days, there's always the guy that just is almost like the prophet, the guy that knows things, right? So there's always and he was the dude. So I'm just, this is new to me. So I'm just in New York City Rescue Mission. I'm just listening to my guy. I'm just like, wow, okay, he knows what he's doing. There came a point in time, y'all, where I'm not saying I became a Bailey, but me and Bailey, months later, were at a different rescue mission, and I was dropping knowledge as to where the different food spots were. And as I was talking, somebody interrupted, and we were at the table. Bailey don't know that I know him. He says, hold on, let the young man speak. I said, you done made it. And it was around that season when I said, I got the game on lock. Who would want to struggle to be in middle class when people are, who would want to struggle to pay taxes when the very taxes is for the food that you're eating right now? This ain't that bad. Yeah. And God was like, good. Now that you got the mentality of what people have, let's bring you out of it. Resurrection, y'all. Let's bring you out of it and let's talk about that. Let's talk about the power of the narrative. If you stay in something long enough, how you can, P, you talked about it earlier today, how you can become the very thing that you weren't even thinking about, but you're in it long enough to say, you know what? I think that's who I am. All right, y'all. Death on a cross. Death on a cross means you're willing to let The goal, dream, vision, the attribute go, and not just the attribute in and of itself, the representation of what it is. And so for God, it was Jesus, it was the equality of being with God the Father. So what does he do? He lets go of the very thing that jeopardizes his equality. So you need to think about, what is the thing surrounding the attributes that have been given me? Yeah, I'm a great speaker, but is it the speaking or is it the influence that you have? Maybe the next step is to take a back seat and to be the influenced, not the influencer.
Mm-hmm.
To get to a point, and then we're going to do verse 9p, to get to a point when you say, you know what? It's not that bad. Pete, when I came back, there's a lot tied to the story, but when I came back home, people like, yo, Chris, yo, son, you still speaking? You still preaching? I'm like, nah, I'm good off that.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, it wasn't because of spite. It wasn't because of fear. It was just like, nah, I ain't trying to be in the spotlight like that. And then an experience happened.
Listen, y'all don't.
Then an experience happened. I said, oh, God, we back here? This where we at?
Because what people don't know, this is the only space we had.
Let's go. Let's do it. For it to be taken. It wasn't something to be attained, y'all. Like, to then be at that place where it's like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. This is it. This has got to be it. For him to say, nope. And for me to be like, you know what? This is exactly why I want to go down this process. And God said, good, because there's still some stuff that you still ain't over.
You ain't over that yet.
The reaction that you had to how that happened means that you still got some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was the humbling piece. It was like, wow, hold on, you still mad?
You still on
when
that?
You were in the wrong? Like, oh, okay, you
still on that?
All right, we got to give it another. and so here we are, y'all, where when you get to the death on a cross piece and you're willing to fully let it go, and you do let it go. Verse 9p. Verse 9, this is what happens. This is what happens, y'all. I got jokes, man. Therefore, God elevated him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names. That at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven. And sometimes we say every knee should bow and every tongue. In heaven, every knee will bow. On earth, every knee will bow. Under the earth, every knee will bow. That's a whole nother text we got to exegete. What does under the earth mean? Is there people living under the earth right now? Whether or not you believe that there is a literal hell right now that's just brewing, even if it's spiritually and you can't see nothing and this is brewing and there's just souls that's there, or if you believe that the under the earth means that it's people who are dead, and when the second resurrection happens, those who are in the grave will also realize, wow, you are real. And you are, every tongue declares that.
Just and true.
You were who you said you were. That Jesus Christ is Lord. Here's the bookend, y'all, because we missed this piece. To the glory of God the Father.
No, we skip over that.
We skip over it. His exaltation is bookended with the glory of God. So no matter how high God the Father places him, it's still a reflection of the true glory that God the Father possesses. He's placed above, but it's the glory that's reflected. Like, y'all, you already have it. Verse 5. The dream. The gift, the attribute, the goal, you already have it. Now you need to think less of it. That it's not something that you need to grasp as if you don't have it, because you have it, number one. And number two, it's not as important as your relationship with God, being in the present with what God has already given you. And number three, serving other people. Number three, you got to let it go. Now, see, it starts with the mind. thinking less of it so that it's easier to actually let the thing go, let the attribute, the gift, the person, the goal, the vision. And once again, we're not talking about the vision that God has given as much as what the vision represents. Because a lot of us think, well, if I just fulfill the vision, then God will be pleased. And if God is pleased, then I'm like, I was like, I don't need your vision. I don't need your completion. As a matter of fact, Jesus already did that. John 17, he said, I've completed the assignment you called me to do. And he says that before he even dies on the cross, y'all. He says, it is finished. It's like, I completed it, God. I glorified you.
Yeah.
He said, the assignment is done. And he ain't even on the cross yet. God doesn't need your he doesn't need that from you. He doesn't need your doing. He needs your being. Think less of it. You got to kill it. But then you have to live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life as if it would never come back to you. What do I mean? Some people that are living in their purpose right now, it's not because of what they thought God had for them. People who are pastors, or people who are legislators, or people who are Pete, help me, musicians, people who are in the healthcare field. You might have begun to believe that it was the position, it was the thing. And then when the thing was taken away and you were okay without it because you realized, I don't need the thing to be who God has called me to be. Mr. Holland's Opus. Y'all take a look at that movie when y'all get a chance. His dream, his vision, his goal was to be a world-renowned orchestra conductor or composer, something like that. And now he's stuck in high school, but he's changing lives with the very gift that was given to him. Yo. Yeah, Britt, listen, it's old, but listen, it's good. Yeah, you got to be limited. So, but here's the thing. It's not enough to live without it. You got to be willing to die without it too. And sorry, not to live just without it, but you have to be willing to live your life. Be present. Die without it. Last one is, then God is going to refill it. He's going to give you back the attribute. God will not only give back, I had to write this. God will not only give back what he's originally planted in you, but he will multiply and elevate it beyond your wildest dream, vision, goal, attribute.
Yeah. Bro, I was having a conversation with someone who left their job. They had been there for a number of years. Highly influential, amazing story, amazing impact. And they just kind of sensed the need for a shift. And they said they got another job offer. They said it was an amazing job offer, amazing company, amazing opportunity. Yeah. They said I didn't take it because it didn't fit. So I pushed in the conversation. I was like, so what you mean? And the person said, I feel like it's a calling. So I'm like, what you mean? And the person said, I am clear that my calling is to coach and train other people to be at their best. Like, that's my calling. And the job that was offered to me was an incredible opportunity, but there was no space for me to do what I feel like I'm called to do. There was no coaching, training, mentoring, teaching component. And the person said, I am willing to wait. And it's been a little bit of time. I am willing to wait until there's an intersection between what I feel like God is calling me to do right now. And she's talking about in her profession. Right. Because Jordan Rayner is like master of one, doing a great job at your job is worship.
Say that
I'm willing
again.
to wait until there's an intersection. Yeah. Between what I feel like God is calling me to do right now and my professional opportunity. And I was sitting there listening to her, and I was like, but what about the money?
Because it is. was gonna say because if it ain't about the money,
Man, she said, I am learning to be okay with who God says I am. I mean, that goes back to what we were saying before at the beginning of our conversation. The weight, the cost
yeah.
of the mantle, the journey, the calling, the opportunity,
Mhm.
the opportunity cost looks different for all of us, for every
Yep.
single last one of us. And
Yeah.
what happens sometimes, and God has a sense of humor. You said this before. God will show you glimpses of outcomes and impact.
Mhm.
He'll show you a flash of being in a space, of having a conversation, of doing a thing. God rarely shows you, to take Ceresa's line, the unpaved road
Yeah.
in between where you are
Yeah.
and where he wants to position you. And the
Because we throw God
question
away.
I ask is, if God showed me the road, I'll be like, no, I'm out.
Or be like, cool, bet. All right, now I'm gonna work my way through it. God, thank you so much.
Yeah,
And let's
I
go.
can do this without you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And a huge part, and you talked about this before, and you have alluded to it, it's not just dying to the vision, dream, goal, the ideal picture.
Yeah.
It's dying to me.
That's it.
Dying to the fact that I think I have control over what's happening in a universal sense. I got control over my actions and my responses, but I ultimately have control in a universal sense. And if I just work my way in a certain trajectory, that I will work everything out. And God's like, oh, okay, cool.
That's cute.
Here's a wrinkle.
Right. Right. And just a wrinkle.
That's why when Jesus gets up, he's like, I'm doing what my father told me to do today. Because he operating as a servant, and we didn't have time to unpack all of it. When Jesus gives up the delegation of his life, what we gonna do today? I gotta check in. I'll let you know after I check in.
Right. Right.
Like, Jesus has to check in to see where he going today. And sometimes in my relationship with God, I am not humble enough to embrace the cost of checking in with God before I make moves.
So one of the things that God is killing me with, please hold your thought, P. One of the things
No, I'm good.
that he's not killing me but grilling me with is my intentionality of relationships. Because I don't want to check in. I struggle with the check-in. Rain Gang knows that. I struggle with the check-in. And that is rooted in a level of selfishness where you want to live for yourself, by yourself, to do you. It's the reason why God has me in particular arenas. I think he's a philosophical term, but y'all, to have to check in.
Bro, I've been married almost 15 years in 15 years in July, and I still get like, when my wife asks me, "Hey, what are you working on?"
Like, work.
What are you doing today?
Yeah.
Why gotta check it? Like,
yeah. And he like
God
the literal
like,
word,
okay.
the literal
I'ma
word
show you.
check in. Yep.
Show you.
When you said check in and dug in, is a confirmation. Cause yesterday I had a very heart piercing conversation about check-ins. And here's the crazy thing for those who,
That's good.
Y'all stop dropping your prayer requests in. Maybe tonight. You know when it gets like this, sometimes you just got to do the blanket.
It'd be heavy.
You just got to be there.
Yes, Cerise. Chris came for me today. Yes, he did. Put that up earlier. I didn't put it up on purpose.
And I knew that, so I was going. So I put the other one in. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, P. I said the assignment is done. It's already accomplished. So it's possible. Is it possible that the purpose is to present or to testify what has already been done?
You know that alleviates the pressure of having to perform.
A lot of pressure. It takes a new meaning. My yoke
Yeah.
is easy, y'all. My burden is light. He didn't say there wasn't going to be a burden. He didn't say that you would have to be yoked to. And ain't it crazy that it's a yoke?
You ain't going nowhere without the other
Jesus ain't the one on the other side of that yoke. The yoke was broken for him. You connected to other people.
one. The
Hey, listen.
humility. Oh my god. That's a big
Ah,
one, man. That cost. That humility piece.
yeah,
And we think
yeah,
humility is self-deprecation, when for
yeah.
many of us, humility is asking for help and helping other people along the way. Like
That's it.
that.
Regardless of what you believe God has assigned you to do. We're not talking about not staying in your lane. We're talking about living your life. Some of you don't help people because you're like, ah, that's not what he's called me to do.
Oh,
And so you will drive down a road and see three people that need help, and you just be like, nope, nope, I'm on my way to the assignment. Hey, so once again, none of this makes sense if you're not trying.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I hate using the word, but if you don't believe that there is something great
Ooh.
that God is going to exalt you to, I have to say what it is. He's going to elevate you to a place. But before he elevates, and here's the thing, you would have to know where you were before so that you could call it an elevation. See, some of us are
That's good.
so lofty headed that the elevation that we that we we can't even conceive being higher than what we already placed ourselves on. God, we made it. What you mean elevate? I'm here. I don't
I'm
understand.
already at the top. What you
We
saying?
started from the bottom.
Yeah.
And then some of us have such a low level of expectation and belief of what God has already given to us that we see elevation, yeah,
I
as
don't
like
deserve it.
just the next, yeah, because it's really just the next step. He hasn't even elevated you yet. He was
Leonore,
just
he been in
taking
my
you up.
business all day. All right. He been in my business since 7:30. It's 9:30. Hour and 53 minutes, 54 minutes later.
Listen, listen. You got to kill it. You got to kill it. You have to kill it. Like, kill the idea of what you believe God told you you were supposed to, because it's not really what you're supposed to be. What you're really thinking about is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Remember, the biggest calling he is called, 1 Corinthians 7, is in relationship.
Man.
If you get that right, you can virtually do anything and God will bless it.
And this is so powerful because a lot of us are wrestling with, I should have done X by now.
So here you go. You compare it. And let me talk about when you could virtually do anything. What I mean is in prayer, you will virtually do anything.
Oh, you still
So,
got to check in.
hey, bro, is it James 3? The fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much.
But I got the sauce. I don't need to check in.
You know who that fervent prayer of a
Okay.
righteous man was first, right? Y'all know who that was, right? A few verses earlier, it was about Elijah. So then when we go to First Kings 17 or so, he says, it don't even say nothing about him praying about what he was about to do. It just says, old dude Elijah just rolled up into the king's palace and said, hey, hey, hey.
Quick. Get your man's out.
we, as a matter of fact, since y'all playing around with this thing, ain't no rain gonna come until y'all get your life together. Y'all need to choose who y'all want. If it's God, then let it be him. If it's Baal, then let it be him. But y'all need to choose. How long will you stand on the fence? Cool. And then he leave. He out. And then God says, good. I'm glad you did that. but you can't go back home though. You need to take your tail to the brook. I'm gonna
The
feed you
cost.
with some the cost. And listen, y'all, before he did that, he James 3'd it up. He was
Check in.
praying. We only think it was a praying for the rain to come back. Nah, he was steeped in prayer before he rolled into the palace, because you can't activate certain promises of God until you know the word and pray the word.
Yeah.
So the same word that was the rain coming, I don't know why I'm opening this up again, is the same word that God says, well, if you are disobedient, I
I'll
will
check
make the
that.
sky turn into steel. Ain't nothing coming
Check
down.
that joint.
God was just waiting for someone who understood his word and was ready to activate his word through prayer to open his mouth and say, you know what? God already promised this. Let's go ahead and allow God to fulfill his promise. Ain't none of this gonna work out until y'all get it together. But before he did that, he prayed about it. Like we don't. So I'm saying you can do, if you
Yeah.
have relationship, you can do. God is like, it's an open door. Go. You want that job? Go get it.
You know what's
Go get it.
deceptive, Chris, man? You know what's
Yeah.
deceptive? When we experience the mercy of God. Sometimes
Let me
we take
swallow
the
one out.
mercy of God as permission to continue. Like God is just hold like he giving you mercy right now. And we almost like, when you
Yeah.
get to the place when you're like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
We experience mercy in the not it's not that bad moment. And then we attempt to stay there because it ain't that bad.
It ain't that bad.
And God's like,
He
nah,
covered me. He covered me once.
yeah, I got you with there's a whole piece of this that I want you to experience. And
Yeah.
you just live it off my mercy right now
Yeah.
because you won't. Why? Because I know if I take a step in that direction, I'm gonna have to
Mm.
deal with the cost,
Mm.
and I don't want to.
It's all fun and games after you pray the prayer as a blind and bald man who was the strongest man in the land, if not on earth. God, give me my strength one more time. To do what, Samson? To push these two pillars. And what will happen, Samson? It will be the initial downfall of the Philistines. But what would that cost, Samson? My life.
My
Why,
life,
Samson? Because I
I live.
lived a life that put me into this position. But God, if you could just answer the prayer for me to honor, listen,
No
some
cost.
of us don't want to push. Some of us don't want to push the pillars because it requires. So for some of us, listen, for some of us, we might have squandered our lives, or we might have done some things, and some time might have passed until,
Oh yeah,
and
no
and
doubt.
and now it's time to get back. But you don't want to take that class.
Come on back. Come on back, because I know how much I'm gonna have to study. Come on back, because I ain't got
I'm
the
doing
energy I used to have. Come on back. Come on back.
I'm doing a boot camp next week. UX design. As long as I've been talking about it, been certified for what, 2 years now, but hasn't been like, I haven't kept it fresh. I haven't had new projects yet. I mean, I got the, but I haven't done the.
The
So what you think I got to do? The cost, y'all.
cost.
Cost. There's people that's gonna eventually count on me to have that stuff ready, and if it's not ready, guess what? Now, do you need a boot camp to do that? It depends on how you're wired.
Some of us do.
Cost, y'all. Sorry, I need to leave myself alone because I'm
Oh, it
talking about.
listen, I think this is just a general tonight. We got a couple
Okay.
that we've touched before. We can touch them as part of our general conversation.
Yeah.
Just remember, y'all. It is difficult.
I'm gonna say it for you, Leonore. Yes.
Yeah,
I ain't even gonna. Yep.
yeah. Like your boy got to finish his PhD.
And here it is. There's a fine line because you might have been at the place where you realized I don't need a PhD, Leonore,
Good. It's
a
good.
JD
Right here.
in order to be. Do you know? Do you know? Okay, okay. Let's make it real. Let's make it real. So initially, when I was trying to do the boot camp, I was like, man, I got to do it because I got to make sure that I level up. And do you know that it did not work out for me?
Mhm.
I tried to sign up. It was the buttons weren't available. And then
I love this
and
story.
then when bruh. And then when I'm ready, because I was trying to do it from my phone, I was like, nah, they are mobile responsive. This actually looks good, but why can't I get to the why ain't the thing thinging? Go to my desktop and it says all of the spots have been filled. Thank you. Come again. Like we're done. And then we talk about narratives. The narrative that I shaped in my mind, I believe that God inspired was, do you really think you need another boot camp to get to the next level of where I want you to be?
Come on.
You don't need another boot camp. Y'all, let it go. Let it. This is what I'm talking about. Clear example. This happened this week. Kill the joint. So I was like, wow, you know what, God, you're right. What am I trying to prove? Like I know how to do this stuff if I really needed to. Get a refresher and just kill it. There's no thing to it. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and operate in where I am right now. Do what I'm doing right now at my job, at my freelancing. Just live my life. Continue to operate in purpose and to serve other people and let that thing go. And then I get an email the next day that says, hey, we've got 3 spots that are now open. Now you can call it a marketing ploy, you can call it whatever you want, but the point is it came back after I let it go.
After you let it go.
And it came back at a lower
Yep.
it came back at a lower
Turn the light out.
They said, not only do we want to get you there, we're going to get you there at a lower price. But now, hold on. But now I'm doing it without the belief that if I just get this done, then things are gonna. God is like, nah, it's already been doing that.
Yeah, you good.
But go ahead and take this so that you can elevate, though. Go ahead and elevate.
Yeah.
But
And
you would have
submit.
taken this and then and submit, because you would have taken it and you would have thought that because of that, that's how you get there. It's like, but now that you realize that, go on here, don't get it.
Now you got to be taught. You got to listen to somebody else. You got to turn in assignments. You got to be accountable.
I don't want to do none of that. Man, y'all.
The cost is the cost, and listen, the cost is not going to change.
Not how it's designed and custom fitted for your life. It's not
going to change. It's still going to be a cost. You're still going to have to wrestle with the tough things, the tough spaces, and whatever the aspiration, the goal, the dream, the vision. Whenever God gives someone in Scripture something that He wants them to accomplish, you always see a rough middle.
Absolutely.
Every single person. There's a
even
rough middle.
Paul has to now struggle with whether or not he's a legit apostle, when before that everybody knew he was that dude as the legit Pharisee.
He was that dude.
Rough pat, and
almost
he gave
dying.
that up. Ducking out of windows like he was in. Hey, listen, like the humility. Right?
And God will humble. He will humble you.
Yeah.
But He doesn't call you to stay in the
the
space of being humbled.
Right.
You're going to take several L's. Space of being humbled.
Yeah.
God is not trying to put you in a place where you self-deprecate and feel sorry for yourself.
Right.
It's not that. And some of us get stuck in that, wallow in that space.
Woe is me.
I need you to get perspective. Like you a little bit too. You're thinking a little bit too much of yourself. Yeah, because you got the juice and the sauce, and you're cool, and you're creative, and people will celebrate you and think you're so good, and you should do this. That. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let me give you some perspective.
Yeah.
Take this rough patch real quick.
Hold on to that. Yeah.
And on the other side of that, you will see God in a way, as you trust Him through the rough patch, you will see Him in a way that you've never experienced before.
And He will elevate you to His
glory.
Matthew 5, let your light so shine that they may see your good works.
Glorify.
Y'all.
It's your good. It's for your good. And it's for His glory.
Glory.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Lord, as we just continue to reflect on it's the weight, God, the cost that frustrates us so much.
Yeah.
We are captivated. We celebrate
Mm.
the dreams you give us. We celebrate when you touch our minds and we scribble. God, we have stacks and stacks of journals of
Mhm.
ideas that you've given to us, things that you have put on our hearts. We have seen gaps and spaces where you've called us to live and to
Mm.
be. And God, we're sorry because so many of us have looked at the cost
Yeah.
and we've literally said to you, God, nah, I'm good. Only to years later
Mhm.
have you bring us back to the same juncture of life.
Yeah.
Remind us that even though there is a cost and a road and a rough patch, at no time did you say
Hmm.
you on your own with this one.
Right. Thank you, God.
God, remind us that the strength that we have to get through everything that we've survived up to this point comes from you.
Yeah.
So when we're wrestling with our families who are in military service
Mhm.
and we're believing you by faith, remind us that the beginning of our faith starts with you.
Yeah. Yes,
Continue to
God.
bless not just Donna and Elaine, but all of the families connected to this space who have families who are literally fighting.
Yeah.
And even as Chris shared before, when we were talking about Cerese's daughter, when we look at the Ukraine and the Russian side, like
Mhm.
both sides, people are struggling, fighting, hurt, uncertain, worried. Help us to see that you are working for the good of all,
Yeah.
even when we don't completely understand.
Yeah.
God, we have situations where family members are just struggling with health challenges.
Mhm. Mhm.
Pam is representing a health challenge. My family is dealing with a health challenge. And there is the knee jerk reaction, God, to
Mm.
start worrying.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though, Jesus, you told us we literally accomplished nothing by worry.
That's it.
Remind us that you don't go to sleep and that
Hmm.
nothing is too much for you. Even our hesitation, you're big enough to handle all that.
Yeah.
Put us in a place, God, where we're humble enough to ask for help,
Hmm.
to reach out, and most of all, to check in with you
Yeah.
because you ultimately have the direction you want us to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Right. Whew. Man,
I don't appreciate you coming for me.
I did not intend. But not this. Lana, listen. Listen.
It got real clear at the end, didn't it? Wi-Fi got real clear.
It really did.
So did.
Oh, man.
It's,
To God be
you
the glory.
know, when you ever been in a place, Chris, where you gotta talk to somebody, whoever it is, you gotta reach out to somebody, friend, family member,
Yeah.
potential client, work colleague, and you got that anxiety, and you're just like, I don't want to make this phone call, I don't want to reach out, and then you have it, and you're like, why did I waste so much time?
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be like that with prayer too, yo.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Gotta stick that in there. I gotta stick that in there.
Oh man,
Gotta stick that in there.
I wish I had the flyer for you at
Don't do that.
drop the
Do
link
that.
because
Don't
you're
do that.
preaching tomorrow too. So don't play, don't play, don't play. Worship the word heard it. Worship the word heard December 1st. Y'all go pray. Our intro is real short, 27 seconds. We out. Go pray.